What if you were given a second chance after death? But with one terrifying caveat. In order to breathe life again, you must deprive someone else of it, the monstrous inhabitant of the world of the dead. Kenya had learned this from his own experience. On top of that, after every time you killed a monster, it would become stronger, so strong that it would be hard to call it human. He would become a true monster in the flesh. A bird's eye view of the school campus, someone rushing forward. Suddenly, someone's green-sleeved hand slaps him on the back. The blonde Chen Yinan smilingly rebuked Chenya why he didn't wait for him. Chenya recalls with a sigh that she is visiting her mom in the hospital today. A friend offers to go together, but Chenya needs to go to the bank to pay the bills first. Chen Yinan is concerned about her aunt's health when she learns about death-sleep syndrome. Chenya's face darkens, for there is almost no chance of his mother waking up. They approach the bank, and Chen Yinan recalls the terrible epidemic of eternal sleep. Before entering the bank, Chen Yinan excuses himself, sending Chenya to get the money alone. At the ATM, the guy asks for $6,000 to pay for treatment. Chenya walks out of the bank and his gaze clings to a suspicious hooded man. A stranger walking by stealthily pulls something out from behind his back. Suddenly, the muzzle of the gun rests against Chenya. It's a robbery. The robber immediately switches to the cashier, demanding $1 million in cash. Chenya is taken hostage, a gun held to his temple. Suddenly, Chen Yinan appears, swinging at the criminal. A powerful punch sends the robber into a knockout, saving Chenya. Chen Yinan stands nonchalantly over the defeated man, saying that he saved a friend. Chenya is shocked by his friend's recklessness, but the latter only chuckles. Suddenly, the robber comes to his senses and shoots straight at Chen Yinan. Chenya cries out in horror at the name of his friend who was shot down by a bullet right in front of his eyes. Chenya's gaze is filled with rage. He is willing to do anything for revenge. Suddenly, an accomplice with a shotgun appears in the doorway, clearly not expecting this. Chenya notices the first robber's gun on the floor. It's his only chance. With a lightning leap, he rushes to his weapon, outpacing the enemy. Grabbing the gun, Chenya resolutely points it at the second bandit. Double gunfire rattles. Both gunmen are wounded in the brutal gunfight. Blood was flowing from Chenya's mouth, the pain from the injury distorting his features. Losing his strength, Chenya falls heavily on the floor, his gaze cloudy. Tears of despair and helplessness rolled down the face of the defeated Chenya. Chenya sinks into the icy darkness, his body sinking and his thoughts confused. After all, he was just walking to the bank. Memories of hospital bills come to mind. Without payment, his mother will be kicked out, and his death will doom his sister as well. A fierce urge to survive grips the guy. He can't die, his family needs him. Chenya's gaze is full of unwavering determination. He must not give up. An unknown voice offers the weak mortal a second life, urging him to fight and prove his worth. Chenya abruptly comes to his senses, his eyes wide with amazement and incomprehension. He finds himself on the edge of a cliff in a surreal world, and a voice welcomes him to the eternal kingdom. Suddenly, Chen Yinan appears nearby, calling out his friend by name. Chenya looks around, perplexed as to where they are, and Chen Yinan gloomily assumes it's hell. An inscription appears before them, welcoming both of them to the kingdom of eternity, and they look at each other tensely. A voice announces, their earthly life is over, but they have been selected for the kingdom of eternity. Chenya was stunned, muttering about the eternal realm and some sort of trial. Chen Yinan tries to tear off the bracelet from his hand, which felt as if it had grown into his skin. Symbols flash on the bracelet. A voice mentions the mask of amplification and soul fragments. The voice promises rewards including a return to the mortal world and divine masks. Chenya confusedly asks about the drop-down menu mentioned by the voice. Chen Yinan points at the girl by the waterfall. Isn't that your little sister? The friend snaps out of his seat to check. Chenya tries to stop him. Chen Yinan shouts, what are you waiting for? It's your sister Chen Duo. Chenya objects. Duo is in class, but Chen Yinan insists on checking. Chenya keeps saying it's impossible. His sister is safe on the course. He's been in contact with her. Also, according to him, this girl seems very strange and definitely not his sister. Suddenly, a stranger in a white dress throws herself down the cliff. Chen Yinan cries out. The girl jumped straight into the waterfall. The friend drags Chenya behind him, suggesting that he check what's behind the waterfall. Maybe it's related to the trial. Chenya agrees with a heavy sigh, anticipating that it's not that simple. From above, you can see the two friends approaching the foot of a huge, roaring waterfall. Once behind the water curtain, Chen Yinan is surprised to note the lack of any passage. Chenya doesn't find an entrance either, suggesting that it might be an illusion. Chen Yinan abruptly turns around. Behind his back is that very same girl, and he admits that it is a trick of the eyesight. Chen Yinan abruptly turns around, his face contorted in shock. Chen Duo! A giant toothy maw burst out of the roaring stream, aiming at Chen Yinan and the girl. Qianya panikedly shouts to his friend about the danger from above, desperately reaching out his hand. The monster's powerful impact on the water throws Qianya back, knocking him off his feet. The bloodied Chen Yinan regains consciousness on the ground, struggling to raise his head. Chen Yinan's gaze is fixed on his friend. He shouts out with his last strength, "Wake up quickly!" Qianya freezes in horror. Chen Yinan is already in the monster's mouth, begging him not to approach. The huge creature looms over Qianya, and the friend from its jaws desperately shouts for him to save himself. The monster's jaws inexorably closed. Chen Yinan whispered with his last strength, "Hurry!" With monstrous force, the maw slams shut, and scarlet spray heralds tragedy. Qianya is terrified. The system declares Chen Yinan dead, confirming his worst fears. This is hell. Meanwhile, in the mortal world, a mourning ceremony is underway. Qianya and Chen Yinan are being buried. Qianya's sister, Duo, weeps inconsolably as they are declared heroes who have fallen at the hands of robbers. Qianya's body lies in a coffin amidst flowers, and a voice calls out to honor the fallen. The system's voice warns, Qianya's body is about to be cremated, and without completing the task, he will die forever. He has a new goal in front of him, to kill the dark phantom oodler for a chance at a comeback. The timer on Qianya's bracelet lights up. There are less than 10 minutes left to complete the mission. A giant monster duckling loomed over him, and a call resounded from its depths. Qianya! The guy is panicked, his thoughts racing. Run, Chen! He can't believe his ears. Unbelievable. From the monster's mouth next to the glowing bait, Chen Yinan is looking at him. Chen Yinan's voice from the monster's mouth shouts to Qianya, "Run!" The monster slaps its tail, throwing Qianya into the water. Qianya is struck by a hunch. Has the monster absorbed Chen Yinan's consciousness? The guy realizes the lure of the Udalschik where the friend was visible, and there is his weak spot. Qianya's gaze lit up with determination. He remembered about the Udling lantern. The monster collapses onto the water with a roar, trying to crush Qianya. Qianya clutches the glowing lure on the monster's head with his last strength. He pulls as hard as he can, demanding, "Give me back Chen Yinan!" With a furious shout, Qianya continues to pull, commanding the monster, "Spit it out!" With an incredible effort, he rips out the bait, and the monster explodes with blue energy, letting out a deafening roar. The system declares the mission accomplished, inviting Qianya to return to the mortal world. Qianya panics and yells out, "What about Chen Yinan?" But the system reports, "A friend is dead." The guy is furious. He can't believe this outcome for his comrade. Qianya abruptly sits down in the coffin at his own funeral, shouting out his friend's name. Those present at the ceremony are frozen in shock when they see the dead man come to life. The faces of the mourners distorted in horror at the sight of Qianya rising from the coffin. Guests shouting, "Ghost!" scurry away, fleeing from the incredible sight. Sister Duo runs up to Qianya, tearfully hugging her resurrected brother. Dodo cries in relief, begging her brother not to scare her like that again. Qianya hugs her sister while Chen Yinan's body rests nearby in the flowers. The night city sleeps, unaware of the experience Qianya. Qianya is standing on the balcony. What happened seems like a bad dream to him. He looks at the bracelet, the one from the other world, and realizes that everything was real. It's almost midnight on the clock. Qianya notices a strange countdown. Suddenly, the numbers on the bracelet start counting down. What's happening? The timer inexorably ticking down, Qianya panikedly trying to figure out where this was going. Seconds melt away, and the railing of the balcony beneath him breaks with a crack. Qianya flies down, realizing that the fragile railing has failed. The guy desperately pulls his arm, trying to grab onto something in flight. The timer reaches 0 and the screen floods purple, heralding a new calamity. The system welcomes Qianya to the realm of eternity, while he is rapidly declining. From a bird's eye view, Qianya can be seen crashing into the courtyard, leaving a trail of destruction behind him. Bloodied and wounded, Qianya doesn't realize what's going on around him. A giant origami figure appears in front of him, and another ship-like figure can be seen in the distance. The paper giant swings its sharp wing, aiming straight at the stunned guy. Qianya barely dodges a powerful punch, raising clouds of dust. The guy snaps out of his seat, realizing there's absolutely no time to think. The system recalls the divine masks for the battle with the dark ghost. The origami monster looms menacingly, ready for another attack. Qianye recalled the divine masks were a reward he never received. Qianye cries out to the system in desperation, how to use the divine masks he doesn't have. The system replies, just put the mask on, while Qianye runs away, calling it a delusion. The sharp paper wing wounded Qianye's leg, causing him to cry out in pain. The guy falls over as giant paper blades rain down on him from above. A mysterious figure in a red cloak and golden mask suddenly appears, repelling the attack. The paper monster lets out a deafening roar, its maw wide open. The stranger stands in front of Qianye and he shouts, warning of danger. The masked figure puts his finger to his lips, emitting only a quiet, The mysterious savior gestures for silence, the paper attacks faltering all around. Qianye looks on in amazement. The monster's attack has actually stopped. A mysterious figure in a red cloak swings his sword, preparing to do battle with the paper giant. The stranger in the golden mask delivers a crushing blow, cleaving the air. Qianye was astonished. Just one swing, but what incredible power. The savior turns around and Qianye is shocked to recognize her. It's her. The boy thanks the stranger, but she coldly advises him to run while he has strength. The girl explains, there are two origami monsters, one forceful, the other invisible, and the mission will only end once they are destroyed. Qianye offers to team up, but the stranger tells him to stay away. She explains that in the kingdom of eternity, everyone has their own increasingly complex tasks. The girl is adamant. She has come to kill her target, and Qianye will only get in the way. The stranger walks away, warning that her next opponent is much stronger than origami. Qianye realizes he is only a burden, and finding invisible origami is an impossible task. Suddenly, a deafening explosion sounds in the distance, lighting up the sky with lightning. The guy recognizes the direction. The explosion went off at the ruined temple where the stranger had gone. Qianye rushes towards the temple and manages to pick up the savior thrown away by the explosion. He is horrified to see the blood on her lips as he tries to bring the girl to her senses. The stranger whispers to him with his last strength, "Hurry! Run!" A new giant enemy looms over them, far more formidable than origami. A girl named Sister Faye begs him to save himself as the monster looms over them. The monster swings in for a strike, leaving Qianye and the injured Faye no chance. In despair, Faye reminds Qianye, "Your mask, put it on. This is your last chance." A red beam of energy bursts out of the monster's hand, ready to rain down on the heroes. Qianye holds Faye, who desperately yells at him about the drop-down menu and the mask. The guy is shocked. A drop-down menu? He doesn't know what he's talking about. Suddenly, a system interface appears in front of him, and Qianye's realization dawns. So that's it. He frantically searches for the right tab. Time is running out. Faster! Faster! Qianye's fingers press down on the divine mask icon, praying for success. The mask begins to materialize, but data loading is agonizingly slow. The monster's giant paw is bent on striking. Qianye realizes he's not in time. The upload is almost complete, but the monster's claws are already at the guy's very face. Suddenly, Faye, already in her mask, puts her finger to her lips, urging Qianye to be quiet. The loading of Qianye's mask is complete. Serenity sticks, he is ready to act. A dazzling pillar of golden energy surged upwards, dispelling the darkness. Qianye, wearing a new mask, blocks the monster's attack with a giant dark blade. With a powerful swing of his sword, the guy throws the monster away, Faye watching in amazement. The monster flies far back and Qianye stands confidently on his feet. Faye was amazed by Qianye's strength, noting that he had defeated a B-level dark ghost with a single strike. Close up. Faye's eyes wide with surprise under the golden mask. Faye, slightly embarrassed, announces that the mission is complete and promises to talk about the thanks later. Qianye is surprised by her words, and Faye reminds her about the invisible origami in the temple. Faye disappears into the digital interference, promising Qianye a speedy reunion. A few days later, late in the evening, someone calls out to the headman outside the building. Qianye is sleeping with his face on the blueprints when he is called out, "Headman?" The red-haired girl abruptly wakes Qianye up, shouting his name loudly. Two classmates suggest he go to the dormitory, but Qianye refuses, citing unfinished work. The guy says goodbye to the girls, agreeing to see them tomorrow. Qianye looks at his watch. There's more time this time, but there's only an hour left, probably due to the strength of the defeated enemy. A sudden message on the phone. Head teacher Qianye is urgently summoned to the student council, even though it's almost 10 o'clock in the evening. He decides to go, fearing that otherwise the student council will find his corpse in an hour. Kenya walks to the door of the student council, coughs and hopes that it will be over quickly. The guy cautiously peeks into the office, politely asking if he can come in. Kenya's eyes widen in astonishment upon recognizing the familiar figure. The same girl in red stands in front of him, arms crossed. "Is that you?" Kenya, upon entering the office, asks in a dazed manner, "How did you end up here?" The girl calmly replies that she is the president of the student council and has even been to his funeral. Kenya is astonished. "So you knew about me all this time?" She confirms that she knew he was chosen by the kingdom of eternity, but their meeting was chance, and asks about Chen Yinan. The girl coldly informs Chen Yinan is dead, cremated, and resurrection is impossible. She adds that the weak, even after passing the test, are doomed to perish. Chenya grabbed her collar in fury. "Show some respect! He was my friend!" The girl looks at his hand, her gaze turning icy. The girl lightning intercepts his hand. Chenya is stunned by her reaction. She grabs him by the chin, coldly reprimanding him for his spit splattering and lack of respect. The president rolls him on the table, stating that Chen Yinan's death is their shared fault, not hers. Kenya, pressed against the table, painfully asks, "And this is your gratitude?" The girl looks down at him, confirming, "Isn't it?" She leans in close to his very ear, whispering threateningly, "We're just getting started." Kenya blushes, babbling about the inappropriateness, completely not understanding her true intentions. Suddenly, she pulls out a revolver and puts it right to Chenya's head. The boy screams in terror, his face contorted with genuine fear of guns. Suddenly, they are in the desert. The girl is already masked and explains the first rule of the kingdom of eternity. The president explains, "Delaying the mask even for a second is fatal." She continues, "It increases the chance of death to the extreme." A huge mythical bird soars in the sky, and the girl wonders about Chenya's success in killing ghosts. Chenya, already in his mask, reports back 3, including a whodunit fish, a humanoid, and an invisible origami. The girl orders him to check his backpack for fragments and to be quiet. The bird dives sharply, dropping its feathers. It looks like they've found what they were looking for. Chenya holds up 2 glowing crystals and the president commands, "Eat them." Without waiting for consent, she forcefully shoves the crystals into his mouth. The guy chokes, and the girl explains, "Absorbing fragments is the only way to get pumped." Kenya was stunned. His level jumped up, and a new skill opened up, soul summoning. Kenya demonstrates a new skill by creating a water replica of a duckfish. The president notes that he seems to be able to utilize the abilities of absorbed ghosts. Suddenly, a huge dark silhouette appears. The president announces that her target is here too. A giant gray-skinned monster rushes towards them, and the girl orders Chenya to kill it with one blow while she restrains it. The president signs to Chenya for silence as the monster approaches. Chenya rushes to attack, striking with his dark blade directly at the monster. His sword meets an impenetrable defense, leaving only a red energy trail. Guy struggles to hold back the onslaught. His attack doesn't go through. With a powerful blow, the monster throws Chenya away, his sword flying aside. The monster lets out a furious roar, looming over the president, ready to fight on his mechanical serpent. The monster unleashes a blast on the president, enveloped in pink energy. The president soars up, preparing to retaliate with a devastating blow to the monster. A powerful energy beam pierces the monster, splitting the ground beneath it. The girl surrounded by dust orders Chenya to check her mask. Chenya examines the characteristics of the mask, Serenity 6, rank F but strength B. The president pensively ponders how he managed to defeat Faceless One with such stats. Suddenly, a huge firebird appears, emitting a loud cry. The girl apologizes to the bird for forgetting about her and instructs Chenya to look into it. Chenya rushes towards the firebird, drawing his flaming sword for a strike. The president watches a guy fight an F-ranked bird, questioning the randomness of his past victories. The president exclaims in amazement upon seeing his unexpected tactic. Chenya applies the illusion of a duckfish clone, distracting the bird's attention. He becomes invisible using the origami ability while the bird attacks the decoy. Guy stealthily gets behind the firebird for the decisive blow. Chenya swung around, preparing to use the Faceless One's laser cannon. The bird looks for him in bewilderment, not noticing the aimed blade. Suddenly, his attack is thwarted, the fire shot failing. The president intervenes lightning fast, piercing the bird with his blade. Chenya bows, thanking the elder, and the latter praises his growing potential. He looks at her in embarrassment, not expecting praise from his stern mentor. The president hovered over Chenya, playfully asking him to come down for a moment. The action shifts to a nighttime school building lit by sparse lights. In chibi style, the president, introducing herself as Chen Fei, suggests that Chenya address her. Chenya shakes Chen Fei's hand, trusting her completely. Behind the office door, someone with red hair and green eyes is secretly watching. Chen Fei abruptly turns around after sensing someone else's presence. "Who's here?" The red-haired girl, Chungwan Yu, appears, apologizing for the disturbance. Chenya introduces the entered as their class head, Chungwan Yu. The president sternly asks Chungwan Yu what she is doing so late outside the student council office. Chungwan Yu hastily assures that she didn't see their date, catching the couple off guard. Chen Fei shouts in rage that they are not dating and stabs Chenya. Chungwan Yu assures her that everything is fine, but there is a ghostly hand hovering over her. Suddenly, the headman falls and her astral body separates from her physical body. Chenya picks up the emotionless Chungwan Yu, perplexed as to what happened. The girl's breathing is slow. Her temperature is low. She's unconscious. The president diagnoses it as death-sleep syndrome. Chungwan Yu's soul rushed away through the door like a haze. Chen Fei orders Chenya to immediately pursue the soul, leaving the body behind. The two of them rush off in pursuit, while Chenya tries to figure out what this syndrome is. The president explains on the run, her soul is being devoured by dark ghosts. The president explains that dark ghosts shuttle between worlds through special portals. Chenya realizes the ghosts are growing stronger, devouring people's souls, causing death sleep. The headman's soul slips away, and the boy asks in desperation if there is a cure. Chen Fei states, by killing the right ghost, one can bring back soul fragments and heal the victim. Chenya abruptly freezes, and the president is perplexed as to what's wrong with him. Hope flashes in the boy's eyes. This is how he can save his mother. The president adds sternly, if he finds that very ghost among the billions. Chen Fei is annoyed that they missed out on Chungwan Yu's soul. The girl orders Chenya to search the study area, while she herself will continue her search in the corridor. Chenya decisively agrees, and the president reminds him to take out his mask and be on guard. Chenya scours the nighttime school building in search of a soul. Suddenly, he notices a soul slipping away. Found it! The guy rushes off in pursuit, shouting, don't even think of running away. Pursuing his soul, Chenya crashes into an unexpectedly open door. Stunned, he sees a familiar figure in front of him. You? It turns out to be teacher Chen Pan, looking sternly at the student. Chenya asks in surprise what the teacher is doing here, receiving a counter-question. Teacher Chen Pan menacingly demands an explanation, and Chenya tells him about the headman. The instructor hesitantly interjects about death-sleep syndrome. Chenya cries out in desperation that the diagnosis doesn't matter. Chungwan Yu is in trouble. Teacher Chen Pan morally declares that Chenya understands nothing about school procedures. Chenya grabbed the teacher by the collar in a rage, shouting that the life of the headman was more important than formalities. The teacher coldly replies that Chungwan Yu's fate is none of his concern and demands to be let go. The boy, unable to contain himself, punches the teacher in the stomach with a shout of, "Go to hell!" Teacher Chen Pan, sitting on the floor, calls Chenya irascible and predicts trouble for him. Outside the school building, the ambulance lights are flashing, and Chenya sits against the wall depressed. The president approaches Chenya, and the latter confirms that he missed the headman's soul. Chen Fei sits down next to him, saying that this confirms the presence of dark ghosts in the school. The president shows statistics on his phone. Since last May, Chungwan Yu is already the 90th victim. Chenya is shocked by the figure, not understanding why no one knows about it, and Chen Fei explains that the school is hiding everything. Chenya recalls Chen Pan's words about school procedures and witness compensation. Chen Fei reassuringly states that there are still leads. The infographic shows, dark ghosts choose victims with weakened souls, without a system. However, in this school, according to Chen Fei, all 90 victims are exclusively students. Chenya is horrified to suggest that the ghosts at the school have a powerful patron. The guy rises abruptly, and the president realizes he has an idea. Chenya wondered with an icy chuckle if Chen Fei was familiar with teacher Chen Pan. In a car rushing through the city, Chenya asks Chen Fei what kind of team they are. Chen Fei asks to be called her sister and confirms, if Chenya is right, Chen Pan is the main lead and needs to be reported. Chenya interjected with interest, report? And to whom? Chen Fei at the helm explained, not only are they not the only ones chosen by the Eternity Realm, Many have set up secret teams. The girl announces that she is taking Qian Ye to her team, the Black Vulture hunting squad. Chen Fei introduces Qian Ye to the driver, Sun Jiguan, a member of their team who asks to be called Old Sun. Old Sun praises the Black Vulture as the largest and most organized squad in the country, with a low mortality rate. Chen Fei discreetly reminds him that joining the team is not easy. You need the leader's approval. The car stops in front of a modern building, and Chen Fei announces, "We're here." Walking down the corridor, Chen Fei strictly instructs Qian Ye to only speak when asked. Chen Fei stops abruptly in front of the door, and Qian Ye almost crashes into her back. The door opens, and they are greeted by a motley group, one of whom utters, "You're finally here." An Qian, the leader of the Black Vulture team and the owner of the S-Class attack mask, appeared in front of them. And Qian looks at Qian Ye appraisingly, noting his F-Class mask and rookie status. Chen Fei finishes his report to the team leader, An Qian, about the events at the school. And Qian shrewdly notices that Qian Ye standing next to him wants to say something. Qian Ye decisively declares his desire to join the Black Vulture squad, surprising Chen Fei. And Qian inquires about Qian Ye's deity and mask level, receiving the answer, King of Hell F-Class. The leader chuckles, mentioning the notoriety of the Hell King mask and doubting its usefulness to the team. And Qian emphasizes, the Kingdom of Eternity is not a game and the squad trusts each other completely. He doubts that anyone would trust the life of an F-Class rookie, but Qian Ye promises to develop diligently. The infographic shows the harsh reality. Mask rank grows extremely slowly, requiring 100 levels for a single grade. However, An Qian gives Qian Ye a chance. If he can handle the ghost case on his own, he will be accepted. Chen Fei objects. Sending Qian Ye alone is certain death, for the enemy is intelligent and dangerous. An Qian was surprised, not expecting such words from Team Blade Chen Fei. The leader challenges the captains with a chuckle. Who would risk their men for an F-Class rookie? The captains are grimly silent, and An Qian declares that he will not forbid anyone to go. Qian Ye inserts a word. Are the lives of the hunters less important than the lives of the victims? And Qian parries. Everyone here trusts each other's backs, but who will trust him? Qian Ye, with a shadow on his face, turns around. Understood. Then I'll go alone. A boy with burning eyes announces, he will join a squad to kill the ghost that consumed his mother's soul. Chen Fei decisively declares to Qian Ye as he walks away into the corridor, I'll go with you. An Qian yells at Chen Fei in a rage, reminding her of her high status and mission in the team. Chen Fei defiantly replies that her mission is not to watch the deaths of those she knows in cold blood. At the hospital, Chen Fei is reprimanded by Qian Ye with an IV for impulsiveness that got her into trouble. Qian Ye desperately explains, to save his mother, he must find the dark ghost alone. There is no choice. Chen Fei sternly asks if he realizes the strength of the enemy, to which the guy honestly confesses ignorance. Infographic reveals, the higher the ghost's rank, the more humanoid and dangerous it is to low-level masks. Qian Ye grinned as he recalled how Faceless One had thrown Chen Fei hundreds of meters away, causing her anger. An angry Chen Fei in chibi form beats up Qian Ye, yelling that it wasn't like that, and he calls her exuberant. The guy, rubbing his bruised head, excuses himself. The Faceless One took him by surprise with a laser cannon. Chen Fei seriously suggests, if the ghost is cooperating with humans, it is far more human-like than previous enemies. Qian Ye realized with alarm, the enemy could be S or SS rank, and even together they would be extremely dangerous. Qian Ye asks Chen Fei if she knows Chengwan Yu, and she confirms their recent acquaintance. Chen Fei tells us that Chengwan Yu is an orphan who lives with her sick grandmother and has to work part-time. Qian Ye shares his story. He too grew up without a father, and now his mother is in a coma and he works hard. The guy with burning eyes declares that he will fight for life to the end, and not even the King of Hell will stop him. Chen Fei in chibi form pokes fun at him, since he is the King of Hell, and Qian Ye is interested in her mask. The girl reveals, her mask is the A-class god Mimir's silent regret, capable of confusing enemies. Qian Ye is impressed by her time-stopping light control, but Chen Fei laments the limitations and wonders about his skills. Suddenly, Chen Fei's gaze becomes sharp. She notices something in the hallway. Teacher Chen Pan suddenly appears in the hospital corridor. Qian Ye and Chen Fei see Chen Pan moving away, and the girl suggests following him immediately. Around the corner, the heroes eavesdrop. A doctor informs Chen Pan of his wife's stable condition. The doctor grimly reminds us that no one has woken up from death-sleep syndrome yet. Chen Pan waves off the doctor, assuring him that he will pay all the bills and asks him to leave. Qianye whispers to Chen Fei in surprise. Is the teacher's wife also suffering from the same disease? Guy is perplexed. If Chen Pan's wife is sick, why doesn't he sympathize with Cheng Wan Yu? Chen Fei suggests with a twinkle in his eye. Perhaps he was forced to cooperate with the dark ghost. The girl accidentally bumps into Chen Pan walking out of the chamber, apologizing. Chen Pan turns around, his appearance distorted, and he hisses gloatingly, "You can see me, right?" Qianye and Chen Fei are horrified to realize their teacher is a dark ghost. The ghost teacher chuckles, advising against starting a fight in a crowded place as the heroes prepare for battle. The ghost teacher threatens Qianye, reminding him that his mother and all 93 patients from the school are in this hospital. Chen Fei is horrified. The death toll has risen again. She chastises herself for being overly cautious. As they leave, the ghost declares that his contract for the day is done, so he lets them go. Turning around, he laughs gloatingly, advising the heroes to be more careful tomorrow. Action rescheduled. Next night, school grounds. The ghost teacher attacks a new victim, declaring her the 94th. An elderly man suddenly appears, ordering the ghost to leave as the school is no longer safe. The ghost is surprised. The man is not afraid of him, though he can only hear his voice without seeing him. The man calmly notes that the ghost only has 6 victims left, but its power is already great. The ghost is furious, demanding that the restrictions of the contract be lifted in order to absorb 100 souls and fulfill the promise. The man reminds the ghost, the stronger his kind, the more human-like they are. He orders the ghost to follow the rules and his plan to get 100 souls. The ghost teacher sarcastically wonders if all people are so stubborn, or just him. Suddenly from the sky, laughing, the ghost teacher is attacked by Qianye. Qianye's blade crossed with the ghost's hand, sending out sparks in the darkness. The ghost teacher grins, telling Qianye that his gaze lacks fury. Suddenly, the ghost freezes, shrouded in a strange aura, and hears the command, "Quiet." The ghost teacher is horrified to realize that he can't move. Chen Fei swiftly attacks the immobilized ghost with a powerful punch. The ghost teacher gloated. Chen Fei didn't even have the strength to injure him. The ghost teacher, having repelled the attack, advises not to be strong or cunning. With a powerful blow, the ghost throws Chen Fei and Qianye aside. Chen Fei, supporting Qianye, bitterly notes that teacher Chen Pan has no intention of explaining anything. The elderly man calmly offers them 2 options, leave in silence or die on the spot. Qianye yells at Chen Pan in a rage, reminding him that his wife also suffers from death-sleep syndrome. The man states with a chuckle that Qianye seems to have already made his choice. The ghost teacher rushes swiftly into another attack, his movements a blur. Chen Fei blocks the ghost's strike with his sword, shouting out Qianye's name. The girl strongly urges to stop dangling in the clouds and act immediately. Chen Fei's sword flashes with a bright light, preparing for a crushing blow. The ghost teacher looks at his body shrouded in red energy in bewilderment and asks, "What is this?" A powerful red beam burst out from the ghost's chest, shooting into the sky. Qianye stands with a smoking shield, and Chen Fei notes that such a laser would also pierce through steel. Chen Fei is shocked, thinking this technique is something new, and doesn't understand how this is possible. The ghost teacher, surrounded by smoke, ponders if it's the Faceless One's laser cannon. Suddenly, the ghost is behind Qianye's back, piercing his chest with his hand and shouting his name. The ghost teacher, holding Qianye back, gloatingly promises Chen Fei that it's her turn now. Chen Fei fiercely blocks the ghost's strike with his sword, sending out a sheaf of sparks. The ghost teacher backs away, his blade enveloped in an ominous red aura, preparing for another lunge. Chen Fei fends off the powerful ghost attack with a scream, the red blade energy colliding with her sword. A red energy beam released by the ghost cut through the night darkness. Suddenly, Captain Chaoliang appears with a masked girl, ordering her to take Qianye away. The girl explains that Qianye's wounds are real, and he urgently needs help at the hospital. Chaoliang warns his partner about the dangers of a talking ghost, but is confident in her abilities. The masked girl agrees to meet at the headquarters, taking Qianye away. The ghost teacher rushes off in a rage, questioning where they are going. Captain Chaoliang blocks Ghost's punch, stating that he is now his opponent. The ghost chuckles, noting the difference in strength, and demands that the captain introduce himself. Chaoliang, surrounded by a turquoise aura, declares himself the captain of the 3rd Squad of the Black Vultures. Chen Fei with the injured Qianye notices old son waving at them by the car. The masked girl asks Sun if the chief ordered them here, but he explains that Cha Liang volunteered to help. Chen Fei is worried. Qianye's wounds are serious and the ghost is too strong for her alone, but Qianye is worried about Cha Liang. Cha Liang's partner assures him that with his A+ ranked mask and mastered miracle, he is nearly invincible. Old Sun at the wheel is amazed. It's been a long time since a ghost made the captain use a miracle. A bleeding Qianye tries to find out about the miracle, but Chen Fei tells him to save his strength. Chen Fei warns Qianye that he may not live to see the hospital and prepares him for his transition to the realm of eternity. Old Sun anxiously looks in the rearview mirror, trying to shout to them. The car rushes down the night road and Sun bitterly states, "Shit, he's dead." Meanwhile, there is a powerful release of dark red energy on the school grounds. The ghost teacher, surrounded by smoke and with sword at the ready, mockingly asks, "Is that the best you can do?" Captain Cha Liang, surrounded by smoke, wonders why the ghost would cooperate with humans if he is already strong. The ghost teacher replies that he is always careful, for 100 souls do not tolerate mistakes, and he is almost there. Cha Liang, wiping away the blood, confesses that he had been planning to take the throne of the 8 dark gods for over a decade, which surprises the ghost. The ghost teacher explains with a chuckle that the 8 dark gods are S-rank ghosts, the highest target for them. He explains that while ghosts get stronger with souls, everyone has a limit, and he himself is A+ and still feels progress. Cha Liang, shrouded in a turquoise aura, concludes that the ghost wants 100 souls to achieve S rank and the throne. The captain thanks for the information, but declares emphatically that the ghost's dream is over here. The ghost teacher chuckles gloatingly, questioning what difference a dead man knows. Cha Liang, flashing powerful turquoise energy, calls out to see his technique first, shouting out, "Miracle apparition, wind god beret." 2 giant ghostly figures emerge from the energy, embodying the wind god Boreas. It is explained that the realm of eternity is a dream world where divine power is stolen, and the mask only gives a part of it. Only a few who have dedicated years of training merge the mask with the soul, unleashing its full power. Even a small fraction of this divine power can shake heaven and earth. This incredible power is known as miracle incarnate. Cha Liang attacks at a staggering speed, the ghost teacher stunned by his swiftness. The captain, like the wind, dodges the ghost's retaliatory strike. The ghost teacher is puzzled. Has he been scattered by the wind? One of Boreas's giant wind figures collapses on the stunned ghost. The ghost teacher lets out a scream as he is swallowed up by a powerful gust of turquoise wind. Barely resisting, the ghost teacher exclaims, "That wind again?" The ghost teacher stares in amazement at the giant figure of Boreas looming over him. The teacher grins gloatingly, realizing the captain's intent as he rushes in a whirlwind of energy. The ghost realizes the 4 statues symbolize the 4 winds, and this mohawk is able to move freely with the air currents, dodging its attacks. In response, the ghost teacher releases a blinding beam of energy from his eye. Cha Liang deftly dodges the ghost's powerful red lunge. The ghost teacher is furious. He is knocked down again by a gust of wind. He recognizes the skill of Cha Liang, who single-handedly dared to challenge him. The captain confirms with a chuckle, he is Cha Liang, the incarnation of the Boreas wind god. Cha Liang declares that in the domain of the wind, the ghost is just a dry leaf doomed to perish. The bloody ghost teacher mockingly shouts that Cha Liang is only a mortal. Meanwhile, in the kingdom of eternity, 2 birds sit on a branch under a mystical sky. One of the birds swiftly soared upwards, leaving behind a golden trail of energy. Out of nowhere, a giant dark F-ranked centipede ghost, the 1,000-foot, emerges, amplifying its limbs. Qianye, who finds himself in this world, realizes in a rage his F-rank mask belongs to the king of hell himself. 1,000 Gang hovered over Qianye, who didn't even realize how he was attacked so suddenly. Qianye recalled the teacher's silent appearance behind Chen Fei's back, the same frightening tactic. The centipede's monstrous maw is ready to devour him, instilling a sense of instant doom. Qianye clenched his fists. For the sake of protecting his loved ones and himself, he must become stronger right now. The giant creature collapses on him, displaying the terrifying power of a creature of this level. The masked Qianye declares that this monster is just a stepping stone on his path. The action moves to the city, to an ordinary multi-story house under a clear sky. In the room, Qianye is lying unconscious in bed, and his sister Chen Duoduo is burning incense. A sudden knock on the door startles Chen Duoduo. It was Chen Fei who came in. Chen Fei reassures the girl, saying that Qianye should wake up soon. She's sure Qianye's wounds have healed, but she's more concerned about Chaoliang's fate in the battle with the dark ghost. Qian Duoduo prayed, fearing that even if Chaoliang was defeated, only the chief could stop the enemy. At this moment, Qianye abruptly sits up in bed, startling his sister with his sudden awakening. The awakened guy is perplexed as he examines his strange clothes. His sister explains that she dresses him in burial attire and burns incense every time he has accidents, and he always comes around. Chen Fei reprimands Sister Qianye, who prayed to Yama, while he is perplexed as to why Yama. The strict Chen Fei reminds Qian Duoduo of the boundaries in dealing with her brother, since she is no longer a child. The awakened Qianye surprisingly calls out to Chen Fei, interrupting their argument. Chen Fei announces that they need to go immediately. The situation is critical. In the car, Qianye anxiously asks what exactly happened. Chen Fei seriously asks if he remembers who saved them last night after he was injured. He is reminded of Cha Liang, captain of the Black Griffin's third team, with his distinctive mohawk. The mask of the wind god Cha Liang A Rang is shown, noting his incredible speed and destructive power. The driver adds that Cha Liang has long since mastered the incarnate miracle, their trump card trick available to few. Qianye, with terror in his eyes, begins to guess where these conversations are leading to. Qianye realizes with anxiety in his eyes they have arrived at the scene of the disaster. A ruined building appears before them. Chen Fei confirms Cha Liang lost but managed to escape. Qianye and Chen Fei rush towards the epicenter, and the atmosphere was heating up. A blond man in a suit meets them at the ruins. Chen Fei inquires about the situation. The man grimly states, "The situation is dire, as they can see for themselves." A huge crater in the ground testifies to the incredible power of the past battle. Standing on the edge of the precipice, they discuss Cha Liang's defeat and the taunts of the other teams. The blonde smiles enigmatically, hinting at the arrival of the master of repetition. A hooded girl surrounded by a purple aura suddenly appears. Dan Ning from the first scout troop. Her eye shines, activating the incarnate miracle, Mnemosyne, capable of replaying events. Dan Ning, the master of repetition, activates his memory god mask, recreating the events of that night. A battle scene unfolds before them, with the ghost teacher attacking Cha Liang with a beam from his eye. The replay shows the ghost's fierce attack and Cha Liang's deft dodging. Cha Liang, embraced by the turquoise flame of wind energy, stares resolutely at the enemy. The ghost beam explodes on the ground, narrowly missing the dodging captain. Suddenly, the ghost disappears from sight. Qianye realizes this is not just an evasion. Qianye explains, in the wind god realm, Cha Liang should be able to sense everything, but the ghost's trace is gone. An insidious ghost teacher materializes right behind the unsuspecting Cha Liang's back. Qianye cries out after realizing that the enemy has hidden in the shadows, but Chen Fei is calm. It's not a threat to Cha Liang. The ghost finds himself in front of the giant statue, and Cha Liang floats in the air again, ready to fight. Qianye commented, "The dark ghost is too fast. He took refuge in the shadow of the statue." Cha Liang, embraced by the wind energy with glowing eyes, clutched his sword tightly. The captain unleashes a four-sided wind slash on the enemy, causing the ghost to shriek in pain. The bloodied ghost teacher smirks evilly despite his wounds. Cha Liang looks down at his defeated foe, asking if moving in the shadows is his only trick. The ghost, breathing heavily, begins to sink into a huge shadow on the ground. Qianye was astonished. Is the enemy really capable of hiding even in his own shadow? Observing the projection, Qianye assumes that it is a shadow from the grass. But such a tactic is disadvantageous to Cha Liang. A diagram is shown, with Cha Liang moving with the wind currents and the ghost moving between the shadows, avoiding attacks. Qianye concludes, the ghost could have escaped but didn't, confident of victory and possessing more powerful abilities. The ghost teacher smirks ominously, announcing that the children's games are over. It's time for Miracle Incarnate. The Myriad Shadow Hall network burst out from the ground, countless bony hands reaching for Cha Liang. Cha Liang watches in amazement as whole hordes of skeletons rise from the shadows. The captain responds with his four-sided wind slash, cleaving the bone warriors. New skeletons from the shadows continue to appear, one of the bony hands reaching for Cha Liang's face. The audience is terrified. Skeletons are everywhere in the shadows. Cha Liang can't dodge. Cha Liang unleashes even more wind energy with a furious shout, his eyes glowing. A powerful vortex swirls around the captain, turning into a real tornado. The tornado grows, sweeping away everything in its path, the debris of buildings flying into the air. With a cry of, "Let's break through!" Liang unleashes the full power of the elements, creating a devastating shockwave. The exhausted Liang stands in the center of the vortex, the limit of his incarnate miracle exhausted. The captain breathes heavily, realizing, to win, you must destroy the source of the shadow. Suddenly, the ghost teacher attacks from behind, claiming that the shadow is another dimension, invulnerable to normal attacks. Ghost notes that the strike still reached its target, though Liang was fast. The ghost projection wonders ominously if this was the 97th soul and that there are only 3 left. The blonde reassures, Liang is at headquarters, his life is in no danger, and the ghost has been dubbed Ghost of the Blade. He explains, the enemy moves in the shadows and summons skeletons, and a tired Dan Ning asks to rest. Chen Fei asks with a serious look if the captains of all the squads need to be gathered. Suddenly the question "collect" rings out, and a girl with pink hair appears. A pink-haired girl stands on the roof of a building, complaining loudly about the upcoming hassle. Pink-haired Mei Jue, captain of the 2nd squad with bat in hand, considers the gathering a trifling matter. Mei Jue with a fangy grin suggests just finishing off Chen Pan without making a big deal out of it. The blonde asks Mei Jue to come down and speak up more clearly if she intends to participate in the discussion. Mei Jue jumps down, lamenting their lack of hearing and promising to explain everything. The blonde confirms with a chuckle that he heard her sentence perfectly. Mei Jue is annoyed. Mei Jue smugly declares that no one will dare to oppose her plan. Schema explains, the dark ghosts need a contract with a human or they will be called off. Chen Pan's death will send the blade ghost into eternity. Kenya suddenly objects, saying, it's not like that, which surprises Mei Jue. Kenya explains, blade ghost is strong enough to act alone. Why would he need a contract with Chen Pan? Mei Jue lashes out at Chenya in a rage, asking who he is to challenge her opinion at the Black Griffin's meeting. The blonde man asks Mei Jue to let Chenya finish, because the latter doesn't just feel sorry for Chen Pan. Chenya explains, without the contract, the blade ghost is limited in time, and with his power, he could absorb souls without restriction. The leader is perplexed. Why would blade ghost need a contract limiting him to 1 soul per day if he's so powerful? Kenya suggests starting with Chen Pan's investigation. He must have some leverage on the ghost. Blondin concludes, Chen Pan is more likely to contain the blade ghost, and killing him would hurt them. Chen Fei suddenly states that she agrees with Chenya's opinion. Mei Jue lashes out at Chen Fei in a rage, accusing her of playing along with the newcomer. Chen Fei calmly replies that he is looking for the path with the least sacrifice, not taking sides. The leader turns to Dan Ning for her opinion, but the tired girl only asks for sleep. The leader announces, Dan Ning abstains. Chenya does not vote. The score is 2.1. Investigate Chen Pan. Chen Fei will lead the team as he deals with the portal. The leader declares the decision passed, the meeting is over, the headquarters building is visible. A bird's eye view of the machine, someone is mad as hell about the outcome of the vote. Mei Jue is furious. Her vice captain Lu tries to calm her down, but she complains that the leader doesn't listen to her. Clutching her bat, Mei Jue declares that everyone just fell for Chen Fei's beauty. Lulu recalls how her past tactics almost led to a complete failure. Mei Jue is outraged that even he isn't on her side. Mei Jue, undeterred, orders her to tell Liang that she will deal with Chen Pan herself. Meanwhile, in the college building at night, someone is being questioned about the incident. Teacher Chen, what is your opinion? College principal Peng Shi questions teacher Chen Pan about the tornado and the student who fell into death-sleep syndrome next to him. Teacher Chen Pan asks with a stern look what the principal is getting at. Pouring tea, Peng Shi declares that he is not interested in Chen Pan, the syndrome, or his possible ability to plunge into eternal sleep. Principal Peng Shi hints that sending a student to the hospital because of her eternal sleep is a waste. Chen Pan asks in horror if the principal is up to something unthinkable. Peng Shi, with burning eyes, demands Chen Pan to stop pretending and asks if he touched the unconscious student. The director presses Chen Pan, reminding him of his wife in death-sleep syndrome and his loneliness. Chen Pan turns to the smoking principal, who calmly responds. The teacher, wrapping his arm, confesses that he was heartbroken over his wife's illness and prayed for her awakening. Clenching his fist, Chen Pan declares that the gods once answered his prayers. A voice from the flames promised to wake up his wife if Chen Pan helped him consume 100 souls. Chen Pan puts the director in a moral dilemma. He has learned that the victims will fall into the same syndrome. In a rage, Chen Pan punches the principal, demanding an answer to his agonizing question. Principal Peng Shu's eyes widen in horror after the sudden impact. The teacher shakes the principal, asking him what he would choose, 100 innocents or his wife. With a burst of grief, he cries out that he overcame his grief by condemning the students to eternal sleep one by one. A desperate confession, all to get his wife to open her eyes again. He icily declares that he will sacrifice everything, and the director will be no exception. A stunned Peng Shu comes to his senses and threatens Chen Pan with the police. The one replies ominously, if the principal declares his wife won't wake up and he won't be able to keep the students safe. The director is frozen when Chen Pan reminds him, victims of the syndrome are dumb, and adds, let's begin. The ghost of the blade materializes behind the principal's back. Chen Pan declares him the 98th victim. At this time, someone is persistently trying to make radio contact outside the night building. Chen Fei hears from Uncle Sun over the radio that Chen Pan and Blade Ghost have gone to the hospital as expected. Chen Yi thanks the informant and announces the start of the search for evidence in the college building. Trinity is walking down the night corridor. Chen Ye is on the phone complaining about the study load and ordering food. Chen Fei and Dan Ning tease Chen Ye with Sisson. The latter is embarrassed by their strange behavior. Chen Fei swings the door open, announcing that this is Chen Pan's office. Chen Ye, going through the papers, assumes that they are just study materials. Chen Fei decides to check the computer and sends Chen Ye to the bookshelf. Chen Fei contacts Uncle Sun again, clarifying if Chen Pan and Blade Ghost are still in the hospital. Uncle Sun confirms that Chen Pan's car is in place and adds that Mei Jue was also curious about his location. Chen Fei is horrified to realize Mei Jue is going to kill Chen Pan and demands that she be connected to their communication channel. Mei Jue, with a bat on her shoulder, defiantly responds to Chen Fei, who ordered her not to interfere. She mockingly states that she's only gathering information, and if she's lucky, she'll kidnap Chen Pan's wife. Chen Fei yells for Mei Gui to be arrested, but the latter is only irritably about to block her. Chen Fei clutches her head in despair. Mei Jue is not listening to her at all. Dan Ning, unable to find evidence, suggests asking the god of memory for help. She activates her power by summoning Mnemosyne, the embodiment of wonder and memory. A powerful wave of Mnemosyne energy envelops the college building, scanning the past. Principal Peng Shu appears in the vision, sitting at his desk last night. The team watches the director in bewilderment, trying to figure out what he's looking at. The principal holds up a notebook with a list of victims. Chen Ye guesses it's Chen Pan's hunting list. In the vision, Principal Peng Shu hides something in the closet. Chen Ye assumes it's a list. Chen Ye, following the vision, opens the very cabinet in the principal's office. In a secret compartment, he finds a notebook. It is Chen Pan's list. Chen Ye read, the victims are numbered and the absorbed souls are ticked off. Cheng Wanyu is listed as number 90, her photo is crossed out. Chen Fei asks Chen Ye if he has noticed a pattern in the choice of victims. She explains, Chen Pan chooses students without support, orphans, or from single-parent families. Chen Fei adds that there are non-students among the photos. He eliminates their families as well. Chen Ye is horrified to realize that the description of the victims fits his own family. He frantically flips through the pages. 97 is that guy, and 98? 98th on the list is his sister Duo, her picture smiling off the page. Suddenly, Mei Jue reports over the radio that Chen Pan is not in the hospital. Uncle Sun's information is wrong. Chen Ye panikedly leaps out of his seat, Dan Ning trying to hold him back. Chen Fei resolutely rushes after him, calling out to Chen Ye. She orders Dan Ning to keep looking for clues and rushes off in pursuit herself. Meanwhile, Duo, in a bunny suit, carries his brother's dinner while humming a little song. She cradles the container fondly, remembering how much her brother loves her treats. While trying to get through the crowd, Duo notices Chen Fei rushing towards her. In a rush, Chen Ye and Chen Fei collide and both fall to the ground. Duo recognizes Chen Fei, the same girl who once brought her brother home. Duo, humming, decides to visit his brother with the drawings tonight. Night shrouds the apartment buildings. Somewhere in there is Chen Ye's apartment. Chen Ye bursts into the apartment, desperately shouting her sister's name. Duo! He freezes on the threshold of the empty room. His sister is nowhere to be found. Chen Ye notices the dinner left behind. The container is still warm and untouched. Chen Fei catches up with him and sees that Duo really isn't home. Chen Ye anxiously says that he has called his sister many times, but she doesn't answer. Tension rises. He tries calling again. Chen Fei watches. Suddenly, a ringing sound somewhere nearby. The screen of Duo's phone pops up. Brother calling! Qianya hears the ringtone and in confusion assumes that her sister forgot her phone at home. Qianya rushes to her sister's room where her phone rings on the bed. Brother is calling! He grabs Duo's pink phone, his face full of determination. Qianya abruptly turns to Chenfei. Let's go! Back to college! Chenfei is perplexed. We just came from there. What makes you so sure she's there? Qianya explains on the run. His sister ordered his favorite cakes. The last call is from the courier, so she was looking for him in college. He adds that their house is close to the college, and if she had traveled far away, she would have noticed the phone missing. In impatience, Qianya pounded his fist on the elevator wall. Damn, it's too slow! Without waiting for the elevator, Qianya jumps out of the window. Chenfei screams his name in horror. Chenfei looks down from the balcony, shouting, It's the 11th floor! And Qianya flies down in a fluttering cloak. Qianya lands on the pavement in the middle of the street, scaring away passers-by, his new appearance shocking everyone. Qianya activates the skill, rushing at top speed to make it in time. Meanwhile, Duo, humming, walks down the dark college corridor. She cheerfully greets someone, thinking it's her brother. Bro, surprise! Looking around the empty hall, Duo is perplexed as to where Qianya is. She decides to call her brother to see if he's in the dorms. Suddenly, Duo remembers in a panic that she left her phone at home. Frustrated, she decides to ask another student for help as a shadow suddenly appears behind her. Dodo turns around abruptly, her eyes widening with fright. With hope and anxiety, she calls out, Brother! Peeking around the corner, all she sees is an empty dark room and no one around. Dodo looks around in horror, an ominous shadow looming behind her, and she whispers, What am I going to do? Night shrouds the college building, lit only by the moon and a lone lantern. Qianya lands spectacularly outside the college, scaring away random passers-by with his speed. He runs up to the crowd gathered by the ambulance with its lights flashing. Qianya's face is distorted with horror. A tear rolls down his cheek. He whispers, No. Qianya desperately pushes people around, trying to make his way through the crowd to the car. His eyes full of pain and disbelief, he begs, Don't, no! Bursting forward, Qianya sees a gurney with a body covered with a sheet being loaded into the ambulance. The camera zooms in on the face under the sheet. It's Duo, her eyes closed. Dodo's hand slips out from under the sheet, and a small white bag falls to the ground. The paw pouch slips out of her hand, dropping the treat. My brother's favorite brownie falls to the ground with a thud. Qianya cries out Chenpan in despair, tears running down his face. Meanwhile, another group is plotting, wouldn't it have been easier to kill Chenpan right away? The Batgirl objects, mentioning Ghostblade and their A-class powers. She pokes her notebook. His sister is number 98, waiting for him to complete 100? Punk agrees with Meiju about the Dark Gods, fearing the power of the S-class Ghostblade. The hooded figure is reminiscent of S-class Chief Unqiang and the vast difference in strength. Meiju draws the line. There's no choice, we only have 24 hours. She turns to Qianya. According to the notebook, you're next. We'll use you as bait. Qianya, sitting on the floor, asks Meiju about the notebook she is reading from the middle. Meiju shocks him by informing him, On the second page is your mother. The pink-haired Meiju, chin up, turns to Qianya. Hey, guy. Her eyes sparkle as she states, There are 3 moments. Qianya gloomily recalls, his mother accidentally saw Chenpan's crime and fell ill. He continues, Now that Chenpan is close to his goal, he will kill all the witnesses, including their families. Qianya thoughtfully asks if he, while absorbing the powers of the dark gods, can use the abilities of someone else's mask. Meiju cuts him off abruptly. Impossible! The body won't be able to withstand the power of 2 gods. Someone already tried and died. A punk named Cha Liang intervenes, mentioning that the mask of the King of Hell was wielded by others. Qianya looks at Cha Liang defiantly. So all the previous owners of the mask died, right? Cha Liang confirms. They all mysteriously died while mastering the miraculous incarnation. Qianya stands up, perplexed. Miraculous incarnation? And declares that he doesn't need it to win. Meiju turns to Qianya doubtfully. You talk as if you have a way to deal with him. She announces that this is her 3rd point. Qianya looks surprised by her words. Qianya's eyes flash with determination. He declares, I have a plan that will definitely kill Ghostblade. Meanwhile, on the rooftop, Ghostblade sits next to a man in a suit, Chief N. Chien. Blade asks with a creepy smile if it's time for them to catch up with Qian Ye and his buddies. Chief Tian refuses, offering to wait until midnight to absorb another soul. The man in the suit reveals that he installed a tracker in the cover of the notebook, and Blade asks how he can absorb. Ghost Blade is perplexed as to why such complications. After all, he has already consumed 99 souls. Chief Tian reveals that he intentionally left the notebook behind, because they don't know about the absorbed soul of the director. Ghost Blade, intrigued, adds that he is very excited about his favorite student. Blade ponders what kind of graduation answer he will give to Chen Ye, who gloomily looks forward. Meanwhile, Meijo is standing outside the building, asking if everything is ready for their operation. Chaoliang replies that it's almost just have to wait for Ghostblade to take the bait, and Meijo asks Chenya to repeat the plan. Meijo calls out to Chenya, who is sitting alone on a rock, immersed in his thoughts. Chaoliang advises Chenya to discuss the details of the plan with Meiyue first, and she agrees. Meijo anxiously asks Chenya if he is sure because his mask is too low ranked. Chenya, sitting next to Meiyue, firmly states that this is the only effective method. He says emphatically that if the only way to make things right is to kill Chen Pan, then his mother and sister will be lost forever, so they must destroy Ghostblade. Kenya recalls how, as a child, his mother used to comfort him after nightmares by wiping away his cold sweat. He thinks warmly of her gentle face as she woke him and his sister up for school. But when his mother was struck with death-sleep syndrome, he could only watch helplessly. Back then, Chenya had sworn to protect his sister instead of his mother, but now he realized his mistake. He realizes that gentleness will not protect the family. You need strength to quell any threat. Meiju, placing a hand on his shoulder, advises him to be calmer because emotions in battle are destructive. Chenya objects, saying that she doesn't understand him. The closer the deadlock, the more cold-blooded he is. With a slight chuckle, he states that he is more calm now than ever before. Meiju is stunned by his sudden calmness and determined look. She turns to Chenya, sitting on the rock. It's time. Our old enemy is already here. A blood-red portal emerges ominously from the ground in the courtyard. Ghostblade makes his way outside with a creepy grin, counting his enemies. He determines that the 5 are hiding deep underground in a warehouse. Blade asks mockingly, wondering if the kids were thinking of hiding from him. Suddenly, Ghostblade finds himself in a brightly lit room, looking around in surprise. He sees the feet of the men surrounding him and asks suspiciously if this is a trap. The masked Qianya replies that this is not a hiding place, but the place of their execution prepared for the blade. Chenya's eyes blazing, he fiercely demanded, "Bring back my mother and sister!" Ghostblade grinned crookedly. "You think I'm worthless without a shadow?" With a cry of "Ha!" Blade unleashes a powerful blast of dark energy at them. The ceiling shatters from Ghostblade's crushing attack. The shadows return and Blade smugly declares, "You won't do anything to me now!" He activates his formidable technique, Miraculous Incarnation. Suddenly, Ghostblade is alarmed. "Not good! I knew it!" He realizes he senses 5 but sees only 4, wondering who the last one is. The mysterious Mnemosyne appears, her violet eyes sparkling with knowledge. Ghostblade attacks furiously, but they try to stop him with a shout of "Stop!" A powerful violet vortex emerges, distorting the space around it. Blade realizes they know of Shan Ning's ability and her power over the light in memory. Yenya reveals the essence of the trap. Dan Ning recreates 3 hours of bright light, blocking the powers of the blade. Qianya clarifies. Ghostblade cannot teleport without dark and large enough shadows. He urges Ghostblade to bear his sword, for they are running out of time. Qianya activates the Miraculous Incarnation, keeping in mind the 3-hour light restriction. With fury, Qianya brings his bat down on Ghostblade, who tries to defend himself. Blade looks around, and an ominous, shadowy entity appears behind him. Ghostblade struggles to parry the blow, exclaiming, "Damn!" as someone shushes him. Qianya's powerful Scarlet Whirlwind attack threw Blade into the air with a cry of pain. Qianya resolutely strikes a second blow, contemplating a guaranteed kill with 4 strikes. Suddenly, the scene changes. Qianya explains to the team that his 4th strike is always critical. Smirking, he adds, "The longer the charge, the more powerful the strike. Certain death for the Ghostblade." Qianya reveals the 2 keys to victory. Deprive Ghostblade of shadows and secure Mei's 4th strike. He recalls Uncle Suna, whose mask is the Earth God, skilled in excavation. Chaoliang clarifies that it's about the driver from the first team, whom they call Miner. His gift is useful for digging. The plan is as follows. Uncle Sun will dig a deep pit arena, which will be lighted from all 6 sides beforehand. Trap scheme. If Blade destroys the lights, Dan Ning will return the lights to the state of a few hours ago with his miraculous incarnation. Mei Jue takes over the lighting and power supply, ensuring that Ghost Blade doesn't escape. Kenya explains. If Mei's 4th punch in the first round misses, Blade will be wary, so bait is needed. In the battle, Mei Jue delivers a 3rd crushing blow, throwing Ghost Blade away. The mutilated Blade coughs, and Kenya asks who he would attack in such a situation. Blade lunges at Kenya, believing him to be the weakest, but the latter knows. He is only bait, not the main target. Kenya dodges, realizing Blade will choose a priority target. Ghost Blade aimed at Dan Ning, preventing him from creating shadows. The team sees Blade takes the bait, and Kenya shouts to Cha Liang. Cha Liang activates the miraculous incarnation, his hair erupting with turquoise flames. He uses the West Wind technique, rushing towards Ghost Blade. Ghost Blade unleashes the 4 directions killing wind on Dan Ning. The blade pierces through Dan Ning, who doesn't have time to dodge the swift attack. Wounded Blade ignores his injuries, treating them as insignificant. He gloats, confident of victory if he kills Dan Ning. Mei Jue is terrified and shouts for Dan Ning to run away, not believing that she has been set up for a hit. Kenya recalled his plan, to let the blade strike Dan Ning the moment he relaxed. Mei Jue objects. Dan Ning is a support. Her characteristics are too low for a direct hit. Kenya confidently chuckles, asking what the panic is about. In the present, Blade pierces the figure, certain that it is Dan Ning. Ghost Blade gloats, yelling to the kids that it's over and demanding the lights be turned off. Suddenly, Blade is puzzled. It's not Dan Ning in front of him, but someone else. This is Cha Liang explaining. His dark Ghost Rider mask allows him to transform into anyone he wants. Ghost Blade is furious to realize that he has been tricked by an ability he didn't know he had. Kenya appears behind Blade's back, stating that his defeat would not be unfair. Blade recoils from the unexpected attack, someone ordering him to shut up. Blade tries to attack with 4 directions killing wind again, but only coughs. The wounded Blade spits blood, cursing everything in the world. Kenya presses the bat against Blade's head with a crazed grin. 3 strikes have already been thrown. Strike 4. 3 crosses and a circle symbolize the inevitable finale. Sudden flashback. A man and a woman at the oceanarium. He remembers their long-ago date. The man struggles to recall. 8 years, 10, memory fails him. The woman recalls. Teacher Chen has been promising her this trip to the oceanarium since her wedding. He regretfully admits that they never got out once, apologizing to her. She remarks, sacrificing so much for me, that's not like you. His face darkens. He has to go, even if it is only a dream, and she asks to stay. Teacher Chen bitterly utters that his time has expired. He swears their next trip to the oceanarium will be for real, not a dream. Flashback. Cha Liang brought Teacher Chen to a remote place at night, perplexed as to the purpose. Teacher Chen holds up the memorial money, asking Cha Liang not to ask. The driver is surprised. The passenger gets out of the car, dropping that there's no change, and walks off into the darkness. Present, Mei Jue unleashes her 4th decisive blow with dazzling pink energy. From the monstrous force of Mei's attack, the ground splits and the nearest building turns to dust. A gigantic pillar of energy shoots down from the heavens, sweeping away everything around and marking the finale. Ghost Blade lies low in a smoking crater, his body completely shattered. Kenya stands silently over the defeated Blade, whose mask is split open and whose head is covered in blood. Kenya announces to the defeated man, "You have lost, Master Chen Pan." The figure of Teacher Chen appears in front of the team, standing over Ghost Blade's body. Teacher Chen's gaze is full of determination and underlying pain. The teacher points to a tiny caterpillar on the ground next to which the word "one" appears. Kenya demands with fury in his voice, "Give me back my sister and mother." Chen Pan replies that Kenya must understand his feelings of powerlessness and despair. He claims to know neither the powers of the masks nor the cost of acquiring them, and he doesn't even see the defeated man. The teacher bitterly states that he is a simple teacher and had no choice. Megu suggests that Chen Pan step back, promising to help find the shards of his wife's soul. Chen Pan asks desperately how long it will take, since his wife can't wait long. Chen Pan confesses, a month before her death dream, he was found to have metastasized cancer. He bitterly recalls the plan to leave with his wife to Santorini to fulfill her dream. But fate is cruel again. The wife falls into a death sleep and Chen Pan is defeated. The teacher clutches his head in despair, unable to understand why he deserved such a punishment from heaven. He recalls the kindness of his florist wife, not understanding what honest people suffer for. Chen Pan looks up to the sky, asking Qian Ye if there is a heaven and hell for people like them. The teacher asks Qian Ye, if hell punishes evil, is it not a kind of heaven? Against the dark background of his words, true hell is when good is punished for good and evil is encouraged. Chen Pan's face distorted in pain, he once again turns to Qian Ye with his revelation. Stretching out his hand, Teacher Chen gives his verdict. The human world is the true hell. Suddenly, a hand pierces Chen Pan's back, blood spurting in all directions. Meiju cries out Chen Pan's name in horror, realizing that he was the 100th victim. The monstrous figure with a mad grin exulted after obtaining an S rank from this kill. The villain chuckles, unleashing a powerful energy blast that shakes everything around him. Reporter Liu Haiping is reporting live from the scene of a massive explosion at a factory in Yuhan. Firefighters cannot get close to the epicenter and decide to extinguish from the air using a helicopter. Suddenly, the fire department helicopter explodes in the sky. The reporter screams in panic. Above the trees in the night sky, a mysterious figure hovers in the night sky, causing astonishment. The wounded Meiju tearfully hears from the hovering figure, "Too weak." The horned monster states that he didn't even have to use his new S-rank ability to defeat her. The soaring villain states that he was once considered a lowlife by the throne of the 8 dark gods. He stubbornly thought that he was rejected because of his lack of understanding of the miraculous liberation while the earth was burning. Now he finally realized, hovering crosswise against the fire, that this was not the case. The villain states ranks S and A are completely different looking at the defeated heroes. Kenya, bleeding out, realizes the enemy has reached S rank the moment he killed Teacher Chen. He recalls how Uncle Cha Liang pushed him away, and everyone received terrible wounds. Meiju and Chen Pan couldn't even last a minute against him. Qianya realizes the only ones still capable of fighting are underground. Dan. Suddenly, the villain lifts Chen Pan's lifeless body, and Qianya watches the scene in horror. With a mad grin and burning eyes, the villain asks if it's an illusion of the utilator this time, kids. Qianya cries out shit in despair as he sees the villain bullying Teacher's body. The monster growls at Qianya, calling him a stinking brat for his tricks. The villain discards Qianya, recognizing his cunning but not his strength. He presses Qianya down with his foot, declaring the insignificance of his tricks in front of absolute power. With a mad grin, the villain reveals a terrible secret to Qianya. He has consumed Chen Pan's wife as well. Qianya freezes in shock as the villain explains that she was his first victim in the mortal world. The monster mockingly remarks that some souls, like Qianya's mother's, are incredibly difficult to absorb. With a sadistic smirk, he recalls her whispering her children's names, do, as she died. Qianya looks on with unspeakable pain when the villain adds that she didn't know the fate of the children. The villain draws his sword, saying that he expected Sister Qianya to be mortally terrified. The villain recalls Qianya's sister looking at him with firmness before she died. He compares her gaze to the determination in Qianya's own eyes. The monster disgustedly admits that Qianya's cunning has gotten him in trouble. The sword blade comes down on the defeated young man with a whistling sound. The villain announces that this is where Qianya's tricks come to an end. With a mad laughter, the monster leans over Qianya, celebrating his victory. The sword pierces Qianya's back and the villain triumphantly shouts, "I've won!" In the darkness, a voice calls Qianya by name. Qianya falls into the dark abyss surrounded by air bubbles. The mysterious voice once again addresses Qianya, suggesting that he eat something to survive. Qianya asks in bewilderment what exactly he is being offered to eat. A mysterious hand holds out a golden mask to him, asserting that there is no choice. The young man recognizes Chen Fei's mask, realizing that eating it is tantamount to death. The voice warns the enemy will destroy his body, leaving no chance of resurrection. Listing the fallen comrades, the voice asks if they had a choice and suggests that everything should be changed. The voice hurries Qianya, but he firmly decides to find another way, refusing to eat the mask. An invisible interlocutor presses the painful. Does he really want eternal nightmares for his mother and sister? Qianya's face distorts with determination. He swallows the mask, and a voice promises him a choice. A powerful stream of yellow energy burst out from the transformed Qianya's head against the backdrop of the fire. A close-up of Qianya's face, eyes blazing, teeth bared in an eerie grin of transformation. The villain turns around in bewilderment. Qianye, blazing with energy, is still standing. The monster notices that the young man seems to have eaten something, and his face contorts. The transformed Qianye rushes forward to attack, his claws ready to tear apart the enemy. The villain struggles to deflect the blow, his eyes glowing red with surprise. The enemy looked around. Qianye had disappeared as if he had vanished into thin air. From the darkness behind the villain's back, a monstrous silhouette of Qianye with a devilish grin emerges. With a powerful punch, Qianye seals the stunned opponent into the ground, a close-up of the eerie grin of the transformed Qianye foreshadowing the pain. The villain, plunged to the ground, sees Qianye raise his hand for another strike. The enemy recognizes that Qianye's base characteristics are now comparable to an A-rank attacking mask. Qianye, with a creepy grin, declares that A-rank is nothing, and decides to test the enemy again. His clawed hand grips the stunned villain's ankle with a dead grip. The monster in rage orders Qianye to drown in the mire of shadows, his eyes blazing scarlet. The villain tries to break free, surprised by the incredible strength of Qianye's characteristics. He realizes it's not about the young man's strength, his own body doesn't obey him. The enemy realizes in panic that he can't move, restrained by an unknown force. Qianye puts her finger to her lips, and the villain guesses it's that girl's ability. Not understanding the intent, the enemy sees Qianye squeeze his leg even tighter. With one powerful move, Qianye unwinds the immobilized monster. With a deafening crack, the villain crashes headfirst into the ground from Qianye's blow. Qianye seals the villain into the ground with force. The villain shouts, "Damn!" in rage. The monster, squirming with anger, calls Qianye a brat who has barely reached A rank. The villain, whose hands are bound by red energy, activates Miracle Incarnation. He summons the Myriad Shadow Network, a horde of skeletons rushing towards Qianye. Qianye, radiant with energy, dodged the bone-chilling attacks with lightning speed. One of the skeletons grabs the young man, and the villain gloats, "You're finished, brat!" The enemy smirks, saying that even with the girl's mask, a mistake would cost Qianye his life. Suddenly, Qianye is enveloped by a blue aura, and the villain recognizes the dark ghost whisker technique. The monster's face contorts in horror. He exclaims, "Oh no!" Qianye, with a golden crown of energy above his head, looks at the enemy, while the silhouette of a girl can be seen below. The villain is horrified to recognize the pink-haired girl's mask and desperately shouts, "Stop it!" Qianye, already with a new mask on his face, licks his face while the enemy continues to yell, "Stop!" Against the backdrop of a blazing forest, a girl with braids asks a long-haired man about the situation. The man with the binoculars grimly replies that S-rank battles are like monster fights. He orders that the commander be informed of the observers and the need to urgently recruit the young man. A reconnaissance drone flies over a battlefield engulfed in flames. A close-up of a drone camera capturing what's happening in the fiery inferno. In the command center, they discuss Qianye had already absorbed 4 masks, which was considered impossible. The red-haired woman in the chair asks with a chuckle, wondering if the answer isn't obvious. She states that Qianye is the chosen one of their Assassin's Guild and asks a rhetorical question about their mission. The redhead explains, they're swayed by killing people, and Qianye is the only one who absorbs masks. With burning eyes, she calls the young man the chosen one of the Assassin's Guild, her destiny, her king. Suddenly, a guy in VR goggles is panicking and yelling to give way. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, black energy tentacles whip around amidst the raging flames. The villain recognizes Qianye has reached S rank, having mastered all abilities, and his trump card is exhausted. The monster realizes that Qianye is masterful at combining the 7 abilities, and the best way out is to flee. He considers shadow teleportation, but Qianye is already blocking his path. However, this plan is too risky. The pink-haired girl's ability guarantees a critical hit. The villain sees Qianye's creepy mask and realizes that he can't get out of the shadow domain. That leaves the second option. If Chenpan loses his soul, the contract will break and he will be called off. The villain ponders. If Qianye enters the gate, a battle with an S-rank dark spirit or even one of the 8 dark gods awaits him. Suddenly, Qianye attacks from above, and the monster decides to focus on defense. The enemy smirks, confident of victory, even reflecting a few blue energy strikes. The villain realizes that Qianye was only testing him with the illusion of the dark ghost Oodle. The monster activates Incarnation of Miracle, God of Fortune Tyche, its maw grinning ominously. Qianye responds with Incarnation of the Miracle, Wind God Beret, which shocks his opponent. The young man summons the power of the north wind, his hand enveloped in energy. A powerful torrent of icy wind rains down on the battlefield. The villain gets hit, blood spurts, he's thrown backwards. Qianye continues his attack, sending the enemy flying amidst swirls of dark energy. The villain states that Qianye's combat experience, even S rank, is too low. The monster was perplexed as to how Qianye dared to enter his shadow domain after being checked by illusions for so long. The foe smirks, confident that the Eudilian's illusions won't penetrate his shadowy territory. Qianye, wearing a creepy mask and with burning eyes, belies the villain's self-confidence. Suddenly, the villain cries out, "Wait!" his gaze full of amazement. He notices a strange blue-purple hue on the edge of Qianye's body. The monster is horrified to recognize the color, his face contorted with a hunch. The villain realizes it's the incarnation of the girl Wonder in a cape. "Oh no!" the enemy shrieks as Qianye's hand squeezes his neck. The masked Qianye puts his finger to his lips, hissing, "Quiet!" The villain was desperate. Qianye's immobilization was far more powerful, and the one floating in the sky was only an illusion of memory. The monster realizes Qianye's real body had taken a hit from his shadow domain after all. The enemy smirks, reminding Qianye of his little combat experience in shadow domain power. The shadow domain automatically attacked all living things, unleashing a barrage of blows on Qianye. The villain exclaims joyfully that he can move again, fire raging all around him. He mockingly shouts to Qianye that the difference between the two of them is combat experience, while the one is swallowed by darkness. From the depths of the shadow energy, Qianye replies that the enemy deserved to be defeated. A giant shadowy hand looms over the villain. The man babbles in horror. "What?" The masked Qianye, with his eyes burning, puts his finger to his lips, hissing, "Quiet," shocking the enemy. The villain doesn't believe it. Qianye took the shadow domain's attack head-on and withstood it. The monster recoils, its body pierced by flashes of energy, but it still resists. The villain, fangs bared, swings his huge sword ready for a desperate attack. The enemy realizes in a rage that he is still immobilized, his red eyes burning with hatred. Qianye, with mysterious patterns on his hand, whispers, "Careful," preparing his next move. The villain looks at Qianye bewilderedly, not understanding what is going on. A horrifying hunch flashes in the bloodshot eyes of the enemy as he begins to realize something. The first mark appears on the villain's forehead and Qianye starts counting down. 1. A second pink mark flashes on the monster's body. Qianye continues. 2. The third mark appears and the villain panics as he recognizes the technique. Shit, isn't that 4 strikes true death? 3 death marks shown on the enemy's body as Qianye's sword pierced through it. A blue-haired girl is drowning in the dark water, whispering, "Chen Fei, save me." Ninglan's scarlet eyes questioned confusedly, not understanding her bitter fate. Gasping from invisible hands, Ninglan screams in rage as to why only she was allowed to survive. Purple wings grow behind her back as she calls out in desperation to die together. A huge shadow promises to take her from her eternal nightmares, consuming her hovering figure. Meanwhile, the redhead comes to her senses on the ground, looking around in surprise. Coughing up blood, she is relieved to realize she is still alive and this is not the world of eternity. She realizes the phantom blade hasn't struck the fatal blow and someone is still fighting desperately. Raising her head, she sees Qianye confronting their common enemy in a blaze of fire. Qianye, in his creepy mask, utters 3, and his aura, comparable to the power of a commander-in-chief, terrifies the redhead. The redhead is startled, wondering where Qianye's mask has gone, and the man says, 4. The villain's face contorts in shock when he sees Qianye's true power. A crushing wave of black and white energy swept across the battlefield. The redhead, lying on the ground, recognizes this attack, comparing it to black and white ink. She recalled, it was with this technique that Qianye instantly defeated Faceless One. The girl is struck by a terrifying destructive force sweeping all around her. The villain is breathing heavily, leaning on his sword, surrounded by puffs of dark smoke. Qianye, covered in a dark substance, coughs painfully but does not give up. Weapons and artifacts sink into the viscous darkness, consumed by an unknown force. The villain on his knees recognizes the power of the blow, but still believes in his victory over the weakened Qianye. The villain smirks, recognizing only a shadow saved him from imminent disintegration. He points out to Qianye the fatal mistake of fighting in the mortal world where the physical body is vulnerable. The monster boasts of his S-ranked soul, able to heal such wounds in minutes. Qianye, on the other hand, according to the enemy, only accumulates bodily damage despite being close to the S-rank. His opponent considers Qianye's absorption of the masks as an act of desperation, and his last powerful strike as pure luck. The enemy is sure. If Qianye had used the ink technique earlier, he would not have been able to resist, but now the hero's luck has run out. The ferocious monster thrusts its sword over Qianye, preparing to deliver a fatal blow with a cry of, "Now! Die!" The huge blade rages down on Qianye with fury, seemingly leaving no chance. A drop of sweat glistened in Qianye's eye, but his gaze remained steely in the face of imminent doom. The villain's face is contorted with rage. He puts all his power into this decisive blow. The villain cries out, "What?" His eyes marks on his chest burning, foreshadowing trouble. The monster looked around in the void, perplexed as to how Qianye had managed to resist after the ink tide. The enemy raises his head sharply, asking, "Who?" sensing someone's presence. A giant hand with a brush looms over him, the hieroglyphics void flickering in the darkness. An ancient scroll with a ghost hieroglyph unfolds, revealing the secret of the enemy's name. The voice declares it's enough to take half his life, calling him a brat. The villain's sword begins to crumble under the influence of an unknown force, dooming him to extinction. Meanwhile, Qianye comes to his senses on the ground, disoriented, not realizing what's going on. The villain is breathing heavily, his body covered in sweat, but he's still trying to fight back. The monster coughs painfully, his face contorted in pain from the sudden internal impact. The monster vomits purple shards, its body shaken by an agonizing cough. A red light bursts out of the enemy's chest, and he screams in unbearable pain. The villain's silhouette squirms in agony against a backdrop of raging red energy. The masked Qianye watches, wondering how seriously injured the opponent is by the last attack. A black and red vortex of energy swirled, heralding more destruction. The villain is breathing heavily, kneeling down in the middle of the smoking ruins. The monster's face is contorted with pain and rage, cursing his fate. The enemy cries out in rage that Qianye deserves to die for what he has done. He laments that his breakthrough to the S rank and the Dark God's threshold was nullified by Qianye's perfidy. Despite everything, the monster smirks evilly, proclaiming himself the victor. The scarlet-eyed Chen Fei delivers a crushing blow. The monster only wheezes, "Ahem! He's getting weaker right now!" Chen Fei shouted, "Qianye, mask!" The monster is horrified. Oh no, that girl isn't dead either, seeing her attack from behind. "Always ruining my plans," growls the villain, looking at the new threat. The masked Qianye dives at the enemy, surrounded by a vortex of purple energy. The monster struggles to block Qianye's punch, shouting out with exertion, "Ahem! Oh no, I'm too weak to defend myself even against A-Rang's attack," realizes the villain. Qianye tries to freeze the enemy before escaping by shadow, but realizes with annoyance, "I can't make it in time." The monster wriggles in a last attempt to get away, blood spurting from its wounds. Chaoliang resolutely shouts out, "Chen Fei, now!" indicating the decisive moment. Chen Fei, with his blade tail in hand, fiercely attacks the weakened monster from the back. Suddenly, Chaoliang finds himself stabbed from behind, blood pouring down his back. Ghostblade's face contorted in a death scream, a dark substance whipping from his mouth. Chen Fei strikes from above, while Chaoliang, enduring the pain, screams out her name. Chaoliang assures her that the wound is nothing, and asks about the Ghostblade while Chen Fei promises to call the medics. Chen Fei states with scarlet eyes, "A direct hit to the heart. He can't escape." Suddenly, Meidui comes to her senses, and Chen Fei is relieved and asks if she's okay. Soul shards spit out by the enemy appear in your hands. The system begins to analyze them. 2 new figures appear on the battlefield, one of them asking if help is needed. It's Gufeng and Lu Yao from the Silver Shining Punitive Squad, once again offering assistance. Meiju stares at the soul shards in frustration, lamenting the late arrival of backup while the system lists the names. Chen Fei desperately cries out to the other squads, begging for medics with support masks for the wounded. Lu Yao responds to the call, confidently stating that she is a medic and rushes to help. Qianye approaches Meiju, who is studying the data on the holographic screen intently. The masked hero asks Meiju why the system suddenly stopped analyzing the shards. Meiju tearfully reports that the reading is complete. A total of 26 soul fragments have been identified. Qianye tensely notes that the souls of his sister Qian Du and Chen Pan have been read, but the system is silent on someone important. Meiju interjects "what?" in confusion, not understanding what Qianye was getting at. Qianye realizes in shock. His mother's name didn't come up among the identified souls. Suddenly, a giant glowing teleportation portal unfolds over the battlefield, taking everyone by surprise. A scream comes from the portal. Ghostblade is sucked into a glowing vortex. Chen Fei was puzzled. "What's going on? I pierced his heart. Why is he still alive? Ghostblade gloats, as I expected, the time has come. The realm of eternity will take me home. The villain turns to Qianye. You won, but I didn't lose either. Ghost of the Blade points at Chen Fei. And you, girl, for the offense from the sword, I will definitely pay you back. Qianye lowers his head. Someone shouts to him, Hey, stop it! The hero clutches his weapon against the red flames, demanding, Give me back my mother's soul. Qianye shouts in rage through his mask, Bastard! I said give me back my mother's soul! Qianye snaps out of his seat, activating the skill 1,000 Steps, enhanced footwork as they try to stop him. The hero jumps into the portal, but a voice warns, The portal is an instance dungeon. You and he are not in the same space. A voice tries to stop Qianye as the blue vortex of energy flashes out. In the next instant, the portal vanishes, leaving only puffs of smoke and bewilderment. The wastelands of the realm of eternity, a new sinister dimension, appear before us. A new, smaller portal opens in this desolate world, spewing blue-violet energy. Ghostblade lunges out of the shadows onto the stone slabs, shaking with coughing. The villain squirms, cursing Qianye for the wound he received while escaping. Looking around, Ghostblade realizes he is in front of the temple of the Dark God. He laments that he should have entered the palace with honor, instead of being mutilated because of Qianye's attack. A figure with long purple hair suddenly appears, recognizing him as Shadow Clown. The stranger asks disdainfully how someone who aspired to be a dark god came back in such a pathetic state. The fifth dark god, Sly, angrily questions who gave Shadow Clown the right to desecrate the temple with his blood. Sly, with only one eye, asks menacingly if Clown's mouth needs to be opened for him to talk. Ghostblade, prostrate on the ground, mutters that something unforeseen has happened. Sly coldly reminds him that the 7 dark gods are coming together today, and the last one is about to break the cocoon. Shadow Clown begs for more time, as he's a dozen souls short of S rank and 8th place. Sly grinningly agrees to give it time, but doubts that Clown's life will last long, shocking him. Castrala, executioner and guardian of the temple's east wing, appears, with orders to execute the dark ghost immediately. Sly notices that Castrala, though a guardian, is already at peak A rank, a worthy opponent for Clown. Ghostblade is horrified, and Sly mockingly asks if he can't even overpower an A-ranked guardian. Castrala grabs Clown by the throat while Sly suggests he run, since he's Circus Clown, the best at escaping. Ghostblade yells at Sly in a rage, foreshadowing a change of luck. Castrala mercilessly destroys Clown with a flash of energy, the latter only managing to mumble, You. The system reports the elimination of Ghostblade and the transfer of trophies. Castrala states no last words. A new world opens up before us. The B-rank instance dungeon Deepwater Labyrinth of the realm of eternity. Qianye flew out of the blue portal with a scream, finding himself in this gloomy maze. The system informs Qianye to enter a single B-rank dungeon that cannot be exited until completed. Qianye reflects on how he was pulled into the portal following the enemy and decides to drink a recovery potion. The hero drinks the potion, trying to calm down and think about the situation in the allotted minute. Qianye assumes that the B-rank dungeon is designed for players of the same level, with appropriate monsters. He mentally visualizes the difficulty structure: B-rank bosses, elite and regular C and D rank monsters. Qianye, although E-ranked, was confident that he could handle single D-ranked monsters. His first task is to kill weak monsters to gain experience and improve his equipment. The potion he drank had almost completely restored him, leaving 3 more in reserve, like 3 lives. The plan is simple: advance stealthily, distract illusions and destroy loners, and then, according to the situation. The countdown is complete. The instance dungeon has been activated. Suddenly, a huge torrent of water bursts out from under the hero's feet, taking him by surprise. Qianye finds himself underwater, realizing that it's seawater and he has no room to breathe. The system offers to activate a special dungeon interface while the hero is drowning. Without thinking, Qianye mentally shouts, Activate! Fighting for survival. A new interface that was only available inside this dungeon appeared in front of his eyes. Under the water, Qianye notices something huge and ominous ahead. The hero hides behind a ledge, biding his time. At last it's here. What rank is it? Irang's hand sink appears before him, a creepy monster with multiple limbs. The system warns, oxygen is running low, 86% left, we need to act fast. Qianye decides to attack stealthily, activating invisibility and enhanced footwork. He sneaks up on the monster, confident in the success of his surprise attack. Now! Suddenly, a shadow flickers from the side. An unknown threat is approaching at an incredible speed. Kenya turns around in horror. What the hell is that? A huge purple spike pierces the handshell, tearing it apart. Kenya is stunned. Another monster has killed his target, and the system reports the hero is poisoned. Kenya realizes the new monster wasn't aiming at the sink, but at him. The huge spiked tail rushed straight towards Kenya with incredible speed. A phantom sea devil appears before him, who sees the hero even when he is invisible. The system warns oxygen is running low, 60% left. Kenya irritably notes this. Abrupt change of scenery. Before us is a blazing forest in the world of men. The stranger in the white cloak asks Feng Xuan if Kenya is their new member. Feng Xuan replies that Kenya was only searching for his mother's soul and will not join them now. The gray-haired man grinningly suggests that Feng Xuan make a deal. Feng Xuan looks at him suspiciously, surprised by the deal offer. The man recalls the chaos they caused and the intervention of his guild. The man in white offers to help Feng Xuan with the aftermath, but she hesitates. He is adamant. Kenya must go to them, there is no other option. The gray-haired man praises Feng Xuan, calling her the executioner of the silver spear for being overbearing. Qinzhe Yue, the deputy head of the Green Viper Guild, appears, rebuking him for pressuring the weakened Feng Xuan. The man parries that Qinzhe Yue also came for Qian Ye, but their terms are much more favorable. Qinzhe Yue smilingly offers Feng Xuan help and 200 A-rank Dark Ghost Soul Fragments. Feng Xian was astonished. 200 A-rank soul fragments was a huge fortune even for her guild. Qinzhe Yue recalls that Feng Xuan is now the acting head of the Black Vulture Guild. Feng Xuan firmly states that Kenya is a living person, not a bargaining chip, and asks them to leave. She thanks for her help, promises reciprocal gifts, and bids farewell to the representatives of the Green Viper Guild. The gray-haired man and Qinzhe Yue listen to Feng Xuan, the former bursting into laughter. A girl with pink hair suddenly appears, mocking their concern for Qian Ye, who was pulled into a B-rank portal. With a sly smile, she adds, "By the way, this Qian Ye just risked his life to save me." The girl scowls furiously, threatening to tear their mouths apart if they dare to bargain Qian Ye again. Meanwhile, underwater, Qian Ye decides that since the monster can see him, invisibility is useless. The hero figures out that even if it's a C-rank monster, he has a chance if he can find a weak spot. He targets the ghost sea devil's eye, certain that it's his vulnerability. Kenya tries to pierce the eye, but the monster's skin is too slippery and the sword slips. The monster's tail retracts, and Kenya realizes that another attack is imminent. There is no time to dodge. A powerful punch throws Kenya away, causing him to shudder in pain. Kenya barely blocks the blow, and the system reports only 26% oxygen left. The hero tries to remain calm, realizing the monster smells him, illusions are useless. Even with reinforced legs underwater, he's too slow. The monster is easy to dodge. The only chance is the Faceless One's laser cannon, but charging it will make him a target, and he's running out of oxygen at 20%. A sudden insight flashed in Chen Ye's eyes. He had thought of something. "There's a target," he exclaims, deciding to put everything on the line while the cannon is charging. With determination in his eyes, Kenya prepares to attack. It will be here now. At the last moment, he grabs the monster by its retracting tail. Now! Kenya realizes the tail will pull him straight to the monster. This is his only chance. "Get it right in the face!" Kenya shouts, firing the faceless laser cannon at point-blank range. A powerful laser beam pierces the ghost sea devil right into its jaws. The system reports killing a monster, learning new skills, and gaining the poison spike tail. Kenya examines a new trophy, a spike that deals damage as a percentage of enemy health. Armed with a spike, the hero is ready to move on through the underwater depths with determination. Suddenly, Kenya feels a wave of killing intent, making him wary. A whole pack of ghost sea devils appears before him, causing the hero to become alarmed. Kenya reassures himself. Without aggression on his part, the monsters won't notice him. The hero carefully swims through the pack, imagining he is in an aquarium. Kenya notices that the demon fishes are fleeing. Something even more dangerous is ahead. The dungeon boss, a B-ranked hunting shark that exudes menace, appears in front of him. Kenya is puzzled. The B-rank boss is not attacking him but trying to escape. Is the blade ghost really here? A sudden beam of light pierces the hunting shark, instantly destroying it. System announces the deep water labyrinth dungeon has been cleared. Rewards will be sent later. Kenya looks at the place where the boss was in shock. The system offers to return through the teleporter. The hero notices a blue crystal in the wall and is perplexed. Who killed the B-rank boss with the stone? A stranger appears from above, stating that Qianye doesn't seem to be a dark ghost. The blue-haired man looks at Qianye sternly, demanding an explanation as to how he got into his dungeon. The stranger suggests Qianye follow him to the boss room, in passing inquiring about his experience in the dungeons. Qianye admits that this is his first time. He was chasing a dark ghost that was pulled into a teleporter. The blue-haired man chuckles, noting that the dark ghost was trying to escape to the Eternity Realm, and Qianye must be strong. The blue-haired man is shocked. Qianye is only an E-rang. How did he even get into the Dark Ghost Hunter squad? The stranger explains that almost all the forces except the guild leader have joined the Black Vulture, and he had to join because of his family. He offers Qianye an underwater breathing potion, but he has already learned to breathe underwater by killing a demon fish, which again surprises his interlocutor. Blue-haired assumes that Qianye is the king of hell since he has studied the summoning of dark ghost souls, and asks his name. Qianye introduces himself, and the blue-haired man notes with a satisfied smirk that he's right on time. The hero wonders what's up, seeing the sly look in his new acquaintance's eyes. The blue-haired man introduces himself as Pingyang Chuan, an independent S-rank hunter, and suggests Qianye discuss something over a drink. Meanwhile, outside, the two girls at the portal are discussing whether to look inside since the boss hasn't come out yet. Red-haired Hanyang Na, a B-rank support hunter, thinks the boss is too delayed for the S-rank. The purple-haired Fang Xin-yi, a B-ranked attacking-type hunter, objected that it was better to exercise caution and not be in a hurry. Pingyang Chuan comes out of the portal, apologizing for the delay. The boss, they say, made him run. The girls are interested in the loot, but Pin replies that he's already opened everything and there's not much of value. Hanyang Na wrinkles his nose at the smell of fish, sending Ping into the shower, who only grumbles in response. Pingyang Chuan calls for Qianye to come out, explaining to the girls that their conversation is not for other people's ears. Remembering that they are wet after the sea, Pin suggests that they discuss business in the bathhouse. Qianye agrees and they head towards the signboard of the men's bathhouse. In the bathhouse, Ping notices that without the Hell King's help, Qianye might not have survived. Pingyang Chuan offers a deal. Help Qianye investigate the Assassin's Guild in exchange for finding his mother's soul. He reveals that Black Vulture is only using Qianye, keeping him on the hook. Pin, as the #1 hunter, promises to utilize all resources to find the fragments of the hero's mother's soul. Qianye is surprised at the offer to investigate an assassin's guild he'd never heard of, while Ping grumbles over a wet cigarette. Ping earnestly states, Qianye doesn't need to hear about them, as their lead is his sister. The hero asks in shock what Pin is up to with his sister. The latter advises him to take it easy and think about her connection to the realm of eternity. Qianye recalled how when he first entered the realm of eternity, a dark hiding ghost took the form of his sister. Bingo! Ping exclaims, seeing the confusion on Qianye's face. Ping explains, oodles of people don't turn into someone they haven't seen, which means that Sister Qianye is a frequent visitor to the Eternity Realm. An S-rank hunter shows a photo of Qianye's sister, saying that her appearance was often used by baitfish, which raised suspicions. Pin suggests, if the hero's sister is often in the realm of eternity, ignoring monsters and hiding, her goal is not to hunt, but to kill people. Qianye objects, recalling her sister's illness and her young age, not believing her involvement with the Assassin's Guild. Pingyang Chuan insists that there is more to this case and urges Qianye to think about it because there is still a lot he doesn't understand. Ping warns, the rumors about Qianye's sister are already on the darknet, and the vigilantes won't deal. The S-rank hunter shows a photo of his sister, offering protection. He himself has been tracking down the Assassin's Guild for a year because of personal revenge. Ping suggests Qianye to become his disciple like those two girls to get to know each other better. Why would I harm my sister by taking you on as an apprentice? That's bringing trouble on yourself, Pin grinned. Qianye seemed to agree. Apparently this is the only way out, but let me clarify something. The hero sternly warns, if anything happens to your sister, you'll be responsible. They shake hands, sealing the agreement with a lightning glare. The scene changes. We see the central hospital building. In a hospital room, a man lies on a bunk, looking up in surprise. A man, Chen Fei, regains consciousness and sees Qianye's sister, who asks if he's awake. Qianye's sister informs Chen Fei, his wife's soul has been saved, but the awakening will be long. As he thanks, she coldly reminds him. Blade Ghost only brought back a fraction of the souls. You have the blood of 74 on your conscience. The law won't touch you. The guild won't condemn you, she continues. But your illness is payback. The rest is your choice. The sister's eyes gleam with steel. Even born in despair, we fight to the last. Meanwhile, Chenya was already at the door of the hospital, heading towards the sister's room. The sister's inner voice echoed her words of struggle, but immediately the thought, no, not 74. Blood and tears mingle on her face as she whispers the terrible truth. 70, 75. Kenya finds room 1138, this room, and pushes the door open. Sister abruptly turns around at the sound, calling out of habit, "Hey, Chenfei!" But in the doorway, Chenya, with a warm smile, "I'm back, good morning." Sister Chenya, with tears in her eyes, shockedly said his name. Suddenly, she chibi-style pounces on her brother with her fists, exclaiming, "Chenya!" The girl hugs the dumbfounded Chenya tightly, snuggling into his chest. With tears in her eyes, she sternly warns, "Don't you dare go into danger alone again, or I'll get you." Chenya, blushing slightly, replies with a smile, got it, exuberant girl." The hero immediately asks about the other sister, whose soul fragment has been returned, and whether she is conscious. The nurse, wiping away her tears, explains that she took the fragment in the morning and is now unconscious in the next room where she was with Chen Fei. The scene changes abruptly, showing us the roof of the hospital. There is a girl standing on the roof, and next to her a white cat with a halo announces, "Your brother is back from the dungeon, meow." The cat adds, "It's just as you predicted, meow." To which the girl replies briefly, "Got it." The cat with the halo warns the mistress, this time she was on the verge of death. The girl is confident, her predictions are never wrong. The phone rings, her brother as predicted, and she rushes to him. Meanwhile, Ping Yangchuan asks Chenya if he has seen his sister. Chenya replies that he saw but didn't notice anything suspicious, still doubting her guilt. Ping explains, ever since Chenya entered the realm of eternity, his sister's activity has increased and centered around him. The hunter assures that if Chenya works with him, her secret affairs will gradually come to light. Chenya wonders where they are going, but Ping asks him not to rush things. Ping reports that he posted a reward of 1 million soul coins on the darknet for Ghost of the Blade to find Chenya's mother's soul fragments. The S-rank hunter indignantly explains the value of the bounty, and Chenya only clarifies if they will find him. Ping confidently states, Ghost Blade will be found, and Chenya should train and help lure his sister out in the meantime. They arrive at the pagoda building, and Chenya is surprised to see that it's not just a landmark. Ping intrigues Chenya by telling him that there are secrets hidden inside and calls to follow him. Hunter explains, this is the White Dungeon, one of the 9 existing dungeons in the world. In the White Dungeon, there are no obstacles, only a boundless white space, which is where Chenya is to enter. This is where special dark ghosts called modules appear, with 1 eye and a blade. Modules are weak, but give fragments for pumping, and 10 such ghosts equal 1 soul coin. Ping reminds Chenya that killing monsters in dungeons prolongs his life on Earth. Due to the constant battles in the realm of eternity, the hero may have forgotten about this important aspect. Killing modules also extends life. A day of farming here will ensure a month without being summoned to the realm of eternity. Pin clarifies, White Dungeon only gives D-rank monsters, and experience and life extension are minuscule. However, for E-rank Chenya, this is a chance to get rich by destroying millions of modules. As they descend, Pin warns, don't open the boss room or the battle to the death and the dungeon will disappear. Hunter considers the White Dungeons a bug. An A-rank boss once wiped out an entire group there. At the portal, Pin confesses, his friend died to get this dungeon, so it's not worth losing him. Ping recalled, they had agreed to pump Chenya together with 1 D-rank hunter. Chenya turns around at Ping's words. There he is, already here. A guy with a mask and a red collar comes out of the portal, and Pin wishes he could get along with him. The chibi-shaped Ping hurries Chenya to start, but the latter shouts, Wait! Wait a minute! Suddenly, Chenya feels a murderous aura emanating from the stranger. Suddenly, a module materializes in front of Chenya, and the hero is surprised. It's already started? The masked hunter declares, Boy, I'm D-rank. First I beat monsters, and once I'm C-rank, everything is yours. Chenya hesitantly interjected, Will you let me? Clearly not intending to give in. Activating Soul Calling 1000 feet, enhanced footwork, Qianye rushes towards the monster. The hero decisively declares, "I'm sorry, I have reasons why I can't give in." Qianye explains, Modules has 0 poison resistance. His dagger is perfect for killing with a single strike. Surprised by Irang's speed, the masked hunter ignites his fist. Well, let's give it a try. Meanwhile, outside another building, a girl asks her boss why they're here if there's a rookie. Fan Xin explains to Han Yan Na, this is the headquarters of the Black Vulture Guild, their boss's former guild. In chibi style, Fan Xin Yichida's Han Yan Na, you weren't listening, were you? To which she indignantly denies. Fan Xinyi notes that Uncle Ping's mood today is terrible, his killing intent almost palpable. Suddenly, their boss calls out to the girls, "Hey, you two," and they fearfully reply, "Yes." He orders them to stay and report the oddities, sending Han Yan Na to the roof and Fan Xinyi to guard the entrance. The boss gives a stern instruction. If he's not back in 10 minutes, they should run immediately. The group arrives at the office building of the Black Vulture Company. The guard tries to stop the determined man. "Sir, you can't just barge in like that." From the depths came a menacing shout. "Who's there? You dare trespass on Black Vulture territory?" The path is blocked by a feisty girl with pink hair and a bat, chasing the old man away. The man smirked, wondering at the new guard if she didn't recognize him. Meanwhile, in another office, Alder reports on Qianye's damaged masks, whose characteristics have plummeted. Alder reports, due to damage to Qianye's mask, her miraculous incarnation and windshift abilities are not working properly. And Qianxian is disappointed. Qianye won't be able to become a super weapon, as Li Han's A-Rang mask is short-lived and risks breaking. Meanwhile, the bursting boss is looking for Mei Jue, perplexed as to why she's not there yet. Suddenly, a powerful impact shook the study, throwing In Qian aside. Mei Ju appears on the floor wearing a mask, and In Qian looks at her in surprise. In Qian hurriedly calls security, reporting an attack in the conference room on the 12th floor. The boot of a stranger appears in the dust clouds, taunting the weak B-rank guard. A man bursts in, holding a guard by the scruff of the neck, and declares that he has already dealt with everyone. He turns to An Qian menacingly, asking why he called him, not expecting anything good. An Qian smilingly suggests that Uncle Ping forget about the misunderstanding and get down to business. An Qian declares that Qianye is now his, and Ping parries by accusing him of stealing the guild. An Qian hums that Uncle Ping still likes to rake up the past just as much. Suddenly, the masked Mei Jue bursts in, asking in surprise what's going on, and recognizes Ping. Mei Jue looks after the departing Ping, calling him by his full name, Captain Ping Yanchuan. Ping Yanchuan leaves, and the action shifts back 2 years to the Kingdom of Eternity. In the flashback, Mei Ju sees Squad A failing to withstand the onslaught of A-Rang's dark ghosts. Mei Ju looks in horror at her fallen comrades surrounded by high-level ghosts, realizing that the captain is fighting alone. She reports worriedly, if Squad A falls, they will be surrounded by thousands of dark ghosts and offers to retreat. Ping Yanchuan, while smoking, orders her to stay, maneuver, and use the miraculous incarnation to defend. Mei Ju tries to object, but Ping sternly cuts her off, demanding that she follow orders. The action shifts to the realm of eternity, to the Fenzilin Mountain Pass. The one-eyed commander is in a panic. They won't last, and there's no word from Captain Pina. Backing away from the multi-eyed monster, he shouts, "Half the squad is dead or wounded. We need Pin." The commander argues with Yi Xiaoyu. Retreating would expose Ping to the attack, and the entire army would die. Squad Captain A. Yi Xiaoyu orders to hold, attacking masks to the flanks, defense to the front, and support to the center. A sudden attack from behind catches Yi Xiaoyu off guard. Is it really Brother Ping? The faceless A-Rang emerges from the dust, and Yi Xiaoyu whispers in horror, "Oh no." And Xiaoyu realizes that the faceless A-Rang monster is not alone here. In desperation, Yi Xiaoyu pondered whether to use the immature miraculous incarnation. Faceless One's sudden laser shot nearly catches up with Yi Xiaoyu. "So fast!" Yi Xiaoyu screams in horror as she sees the explosion consuming her comrades. Without hesitating, she activates the miraculous incarnation, Gun, realizing that there was no time. A powerful water stream forms, willing to sacrifice the small for the greater. The water dragon Gun blocks the enemy's path, preventing them from advancing a single step. Yi Xiaoyu orders everyone to gather around her while the dragon attacks. Blood streams from her nose and eyes. The immature miraculous incarnation drains her strength. Someone's hand rests on her shoulder with words of encouragement. "Good job." Captain Ping Yan-chuan arrives on the battlefield, ready to take it all on. 2 days later, in the office, someone fiercely defends Captor Pina against the charges. The leadership is adamant that the heavy casualties are the fault of the incompetent Captain Pina. Management blames Yi Xiaoyu for the losses, hinting at her resignation. Ping is offered to take Yi Xiaoyu's place, but he firmly refuses. Ping Yan-chuan scornfully accuses his superiors of scheming to support Enqian. He recalls how Enqian made a deal with the mysterious figure, setting their squad up. Ping denounces them for hiding Enqian's ties to the Assassin's Guild and betraying their comrades. The management spokesperson coldly states that Ping's opinion no longer matters. Ping Yan-chuan angrily asks if they themselves are willing to be victimized when their names end up on the list. The warden tries to rein Ping in, citing the authority of the council, but he only sneers. Ping Yan-chuan announces his resignation, suggesting that his superiors seek help from his patron Enqian.